And I had this thought a couple weeks ago. I said, okay, is this the 27-year-old who's calling me, or is this the 9-year-old boy who felt like he didn't get enough time? Thank you, everyone, for joining another edition of the Faith Talks podcast. Faith Talks exists to offer spiritual growth content to women of faith, and I'm your host, Jennifer R. Farmer. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. You know, navigating leadership, professional development, and wellness in the workplace are complicated for anyone. And this is especially true for women and also system impacted people who are trying to reclaim their voice, re enter the workforce, and just thrive. And in this episode of Faith Talks, I am so excited that I'll get to speak with Dr. Heather Lamb. And we're going to discuss her expertise and her work in wellness, professional development, and also supporting system impacted people, as well as women of faith. This is a conversation that you don't want to miss. I'm going to go ahead and ask you to get a notepad and a pen, because I'm sure that so much of what she will say, you'll want to capture. And so I'm going to give you space to go ahead and grab that notepad and that pen right now. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about Dr. Lamb's background, because I want you to have a full breadth and grasp of who you'll be hearing from. So Dr. Heather Lamb is an author, educator, consultant, and a social impact leader whose work sits at the intersection of faith, voice, leadership, and also community transformation. She's the author of How Not to Be a People Pleaser, 5 Action Steps to Using Your Voice Without Regret. I love that. And it's a practical guide to heartfelt guidance that helps women reclaim their voice, establish healthy boundaries, and also live with greater courage, clarity, and peace. Dr. Lamb is also the executive director of Seek, and it's a nonprofit organization committed to social and economic empowerment through knowledge. And also, she's the founder of Building Blocks Services. And she leads entrepreneurship, workplace development, and professional development initiatives. Now, through her signature Entrepreneurship 10.0 program, she has helped aspiring entrepreneurs move their ideas to action, and also turning side hustles into hobbies and into legally registered businesses. As the principal consultant of Dr. Heather Lamb Consulting, she supports schools, organizations, and leaders in building healthier workplace cultures through her WELL method. And we'll ask her what that acronym stands for in just a moment. But she focuses on witnessing without judgment, elevating emotional intelligence, and listening out loud, and letting people lead their wellness. Again, all of this sounds countercultural to me, but also so needed. Her work is rooted in the belief that when people are seen, heard, equipped, and empowered, they are better able to serve, to lead, and to create lasting impact. A woman of faith, Dr. Lamb often shares the importance of taking both the small and large concerns of life to God. Her message encourages women to stop shrinking, stop self-abandoning, and use their God-given voice with wisdom and purpose. And through her writing, consulting, and teaching, and also her community work, Dr. Lamb continues to inspire women to live intentionally, to lead courageously, and to honor the calling on their lives. Dr. Lamb, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation.
You are very welcome. I am so excited to be here. Again, thank you so much for having me. I sound so much better than sometimes I think I am. Like, that was such a wonderful introduction. I've done a lot in my 50 years. I love it. I love it. But again, Jennifer, thank you so much for having me. Very passionate about what I do. Hope that it's contagious, and, just want people to be blessed by the message.
Your work is so powerful and it's so impactful. I have to ask, how did you end up here? Like, how did this become your body of work? I know it's vast, but if you can just take us back and give us a little bit of information there.
So I feel like everything happens for a reason, right? Of course, being a faith, that is what we live by. Nothing happens by mistake. Everything is intentional, whether it be good or bad. It all comes out that we win in the end. So throughout life, I've started off passionate about education, always wanting to. I remember as a little girl just playing with dolls and playing school. So I started off in this whole education space. Then I moved into how else can I impact people and empower them through this education to help. I saw inequities as I grew up. I saw marginalized folks actually having to overcome some of the things that I thought were just civil rights as people. And so it took me into the space of helping folks, helping the underdog, as I considered it. So I moved into, from education, I moved into the community activism. I moved into the entrepreneurship because, as we say in church, there's no ship like fellowship. But being a business owner, I say there's no ship like entrepreneurship, right? And so you kind of take the limits off and you kind of move into this space of whatever I'm capable to do, I'm going to do to better myself and to better my neighbor. So all of that is like I don't know, amalgamation of the things that I've gone through that will take me to this space to be able to support, to be able to help, to write the book, and anything that God gives me an unction to do, I just lean in. And I think I got a little ADHD on top of that, but for the most part, I just lean in, Jennifer. I just lean in and do what he tells me to do. And so from that, all of those tangents have grown. And so I'm excited to be able to help. I'm excited to be able to do the work that I'm called here to do.
I heard someone say that when we lean into our calling, we free other people to do the same. Has that been true in your work?
Yes. And I think that's why I'm so excited about it, because leaning in is really hard. It's really something, it's not easy. And I don't think it's very natural for us to lean into things because our change is not very comfortable. Whether you're changing something for the good or you're changing something for the bad, just getting out of that normalcy is uncomfortable. And so when it's kind of funny because when people tend to see me just jump into things, oh, I am scared. Oh, I have fear. I have issues with it. But I know that in the end, I win. And I know that in the end, that's what I'm supposed to do. So most people just look at me and say, well, if Heather can do it, I can do it too. And I don't mind being that person. I don't mind being that person.
You know, years ago, I was having breakfast with a friend and she knew me very well. And there were, I think, I won't say that I was living small, but I definitely had a lot of fears around leaning into my calling, right? And I don't know what I said, but my friend looked at me and she said, Jennifer, what are you waiting for? Like, why don't you just do the thing? And I realized that I had been waiting. I don't know if I was waiting for someone to come on my shoulder and tap me or if I had a lack of self trust, maybe all of the above. But can you talk to me about um, if this is something that you've seen with other people and how you inspire them to move forward?
Absolutely. So, Jennifer, I'm telling you, when you finally move into the space where you know that daddy has you, then you'll move. And what I mean by that is, and you may have a great biological father. Your father may be the best dad in the world, or your father may be deceased. But the daddy I'm talking about is Daddy God. So when you move into the space where you know that daddy got you, then you tend to take those risks and you tend to lean in on those things because you know if you are intentional about what you're trying to do, if you are feeling like you're moving off of the unction of the Holy Spirit or you're moving off of what he told you were supposed to do and he's giving you the capacity to do, he's going to safeguard you. So sometimes when we look at the things that we are supposed to accomplish, you're absolutely right. We minimize ourselves. We kind of put ourselves in a box and we say, we think very small. And we have a big daddy and we have big things to accomplish. And so he's not going to even give you an idea. This is how I feel now. I don't know if everybody agrees, but he doesn't even give you an idea that he won't allow you to create and for it to come to fruition. So it doesn't even come to your mind because his ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. They're so much larger. They are greater. So if he allows you to have that thought, if he allows you to do that, he's going to give you the capacity and the things that you need to get it done. It's all about you taking the limits off. So yeah, I mean, these are my speeches every day, Jennifer. Like this is what I live by. Again, is it scary? Absolutely. Again, do you sometimes, you want to pick one foot up and not put it down because you're not sure if the bottom is going to fall out? Absolutely, because we are human. But, the higher you go, the more you have to lean in. The higher you go, the more you have to trust him. The higher you go, the more he will show you who he is. And so, every day is not a good day, every day is not fun, but every day is a day with God.
I've been saying for years, so I've hosted this podcast for 7 years, and I've been saying for 7 years that I am so inspired by the people who I get to interview. And as you talk, I'm just smiling from ear to ear. I'm just because there's so much truth there. Um, and when you talk about, I heard you say that if we have the idea, it's likely because God put it in us. What would you say to people who naturally question themselves? Like some of us are like, okay, let's go get it, and others are like, okay, is that God? Is that God? So what would you say to someone who's just naturally they tend to have maybe more self doubt, or maybe they self abandon? Like, what would you say in that kind of situation?
So we always, we will always question ourselves. We will always want to make sure that we actually are hearing the voice of God and that we are moving in spaces where that's safety and we're under his wings and we are abiding as we should, because that's where our safety is. So one key piece to that, to ensuring that you are doing the right thing at the right time, is make sure that you are abiding and make sure that you are doing the things that keep you in good relationship. So we're talking about faith here. This is a faith podcast. We're not just talking about, we're not regular people. We are people with relationships with him. We are people who have privileges to call him our father and to know what that really means. So if he is going to be that to us, we have to give him that authority. We have to show him that respect. We have to give him that time. We have to give him that dedication so that when we get those unctions and those soft voices and we hear that soft, still voice and he tells us to do something or move in a certain way, we're okay with trying it, even if we're not sure it's him, because we know that we are protected. We know that we are covered. So because we are women of faith, we have the privilege to do a lot of things that people who don't believe don't. Because we know that we're safe. Now here's the thing. If you don't walk in that level of faith, don't you move. That's on you. But I need you to build that kind of relationship with him so that you feel good about listening and hearing and meditating and knowing his word and knowing what he has for you, so that when you make these decisions, you're not moving off of a whim. You're not moving off of a breeze, but you're moving off of his historical data. What has he already done for you? What has he already shown you that you can accomplish with him? What has he already aligned you with? And then you're moving so that even your mind is aligned with the movements that he's giving you to do, because you have historical data. So we're not just going by the breeze because we're in a relationship. We're going by what has daddy already done? What does his word say that we can do? And so I move in that space.
Again, I absolutely love that so much. I mean, it all resonates with me. And I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm going to ask you a question. Actually, let me start my question first, and then I'll tell you a story. My question is, what role do you think intergenerational relationships with fellow believers and women plays in helping us to hear correctly or believe what we have heard? And I have a bias, and so I'll tell you what I mean. Um, Maybe about when I started my business, I was working for a company and I felt I just couldn't get comfortable, right? And there was always something happening and I would adjust. And it had been on my heart to found my own business for many years. Like, one of my friends had told me, you need to start your, like years prior, but I was so afraid. And there was a woman in the organization. She was a pastor. She is a pastor out in California. And when I would get discouraged, I would call her and I would just call her crying, Pastor Trina. And I've told this story, you know. And that last time she said, Jennifer, how do you know that God isn't troubling the water because it's time for you to get out the boat? And she said, you keep trying to get comfortable and you keep trying to settle and God keeps troubling the water. How do you know the time isn't now? And when she said it, it rung true to my spirit. Like I got it immediately. And so I'm like crying and crying. But when I hung up the phone, I said, no, it's time for me to leave. And because it was already in me, I just needed someone to kind of speak to that. And I called my boss, and uh, I think I asked him if I could meet with him. And then maybe a couple months later, I said, in 6 months, I'm going to leave. And one of the things that Pastor Trina told me is she said, faith is not everything materializing before you take a step. Faith is you believing that God has called you to one thing, and you take that step, even though you can't see everything. And so, again, at that point, Pastor Trina was probably 10 to 15 years my senior, but I trusted her. And so my question to you is, what role do you think, in your experience, what you've seen, like what role does intergenerational coaching, mentoring, what role does that play in our spiritual formation, but also in deepening our faith?
Well, I'm going to take a natural tone to this first, and then I'll move into the spiritual piece. And the natural thing that I will say that will align all of this in my mind is, we learn best from experience, right? So you go through something and then you learn from it, say, I don't want to touch that fire again. I don't want to go through this. However, although we learn best from experiences, the experiences do not have to be ours. Okay? So the important part to understand in that is that if you hear something, just like the pastor who spoke to you, if she's telling you something, you value her opinion, she has shown herself as a friend, she has shown herself as a supporter, then we take on that and we can hear that and not have to go through that. Take it, the light will come on, we can move forward, and God puts people in place to speak into your lives to give you a confirmation. You would have kept going around on that carousel. You would have kept going around that mulberry bush, as I say, until someone spoke it into your life, actually said it out of their mouth so that you could hear it. And because again, faith comes by hearing and hearing. So he used her to tell you what you needed to hear to make sure you made the move that you needed to move. So as it relates to intergenerational pieces, we tend to look up to our elders. Again, it goes to, even in the natural, it even goes to experience. So if we look at the experiences that some of the people that are older than us, that we value, that we can take actions according to what their advice is, then that brings us a level of peace, because we don't have to go through things that they've gone through if we decide to listen, if we decide to take in what they have for us, if we decide to feel like it's of value. But again, you have to be in that place to receive it. You have to be humble enough to know that you don't know everything. You have to be sitting in a space where you can listen and learn. You have to also be in a space where you're ready to move. If they tell you this is what's going to happen and this is what you should do, hear the word and move forward. So all of those things have to be in line. But in relation to intergenerational spaces, we definitely need to nurture and to support young women in the faith. We definitely need to make sure that we are close to our Father and to God, to make sure that He leads us to the people that we need to support. You may be out there, you may be supposed to support a mentoring program of girls. You may need to start your own program that helps young women in your neighborhood, but you need to do something that will allow you to pour into someone else. Use your experience and give them good advice, and advise them according to the things that you have tripped up on, the things that have knocked you in the head, so they won't have to go through some of those same pieces.
I love that. Do you believe that we are all assigned different people who we are supposed to minister to?
I do. I believe that it changes by the day, though, right? I believe you could be in the grocery store and you were assigned to speak to the lady in front of you in line. I believe that you are called first to your family. I'll say that first, right? It starts at home. It starts at home, and it starts with them seeing you live according to what you say out of your mouth. That in itself is a big deal. Live your life according to what you're telling everybody else, and your whole house will respect you. So let's start at home first. And then we can move out into the hedges and highways. But make sure you're taking care of home, and make sure that the people that you interact with, that you are being even an evangelist that is not quite an evangelist. We are called to do all of those things, even if that's not our title.
I love what you said about taking care of home first. And I love that because in our culture, there's such a temptation to want to be seen by everybody, right? And to want to want praise and to want applause. And this can cause us to travel all over in order to get it. And then, sometimes you hear about people who are esteemed by everyone except for the people who really, really know them. And I know that that could be about jealousy, but I also wonder if it's about what we invest. What would you say to the person who, and I think taking care of home is not always, it doesn't come with an award, a tangible award. It isn't always sexy. What would you say to the person who's in the trenches and they in this season they have to maybe be closer to home, or more is demanded of them from home, and they're wondering, maybe I'm not seen, I'm not celebrated? What would you say if that person was listening to this conversation and they heard you say that?
Well, what immediately came to mind was do not despise small beginnings, right? Um, and it kind of relates and then it kind of doesn't, right? So your home is where your heart is. Your home should be what you nurture first. Your home should be your priority because that's you don't have a question of whether or not they're your assignment. That's who God assigned you with naturally, and you see that every day. So to take care of the people in your home, that may be your charge right now because maybe he wants to see how you treat your mother. Right? Maybe he wants to see how you treat your husband. Maybe he wants to see how you treat your children. Maybe he wants to see how you treat your sister before he allows you to be on a platform that will give you the opportunity to mistreat or to treat well someone else. Right. So you would rather go through the trenches, get those character adjustments with your family before you get into the public eye and have to be reprimanded or you have to be disciplined in a way that gets you in line. Because here's what's not going to happen. What's not going to happen is you're not going to have a platform where you proclaim him and you move in spaces where he should be lifted and reflected and not really have that authenticity. He'll give you the platform, but you may not stay there long. Because the thing about it is, you lift him, he draws people. When you lift him, it draws people to him. And that's the goal of us being here. So if your family does not see you as a person that they want to emulate, that they want to follow, and they say, hey, who is this Jesus that she follows? Who is this that she has? I need that too. Then you may need to think about how you're living. Now, of course, Jennifer, like you said, we have people who are not going to like us. We have people, they didn't like Jesus, right? And we do know that even in his home, he said, can nothing good come out of Nazareth? So, hey, we know that there are two sides of that coin. But your job is to love. Your job is to treat people accordingly. Your job is family first. So you do that work and let him do the rest.
Again, I'm eating it up. I'm eating it up. I'm loving it. I'm loving it all. And I asked that question because I think that there's such temptation to there's just such temptation to feel like, oh, I need to be doing, 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 doing. And I think the most revolutionary, as a Black woman, as a mother, I think the most revolutionary thing that I can do is to invest in my child, you know? And so sometimes I'm in a position where I'm negotiating. Do I go here or do I go there? It's like, nope, it's just me, it's me and her. And my son is grown, so he's out of the house. But it's like, nope, it's me and her. And so if that means that I'm playing with Barbies, or trying to escape from playing with Barbies, that's what it is. And so I really just appreciate that wisdom and that teaching. And I guess my next question for you is, when you think about the work that you do and the work that you've been called to, does it feel like it changes in different seasons of your life? And can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the shifts that you've had and the work that you've been called to do?
Sure. I want to tap, before we go to that, you said something that really triggered me in regards to playing with the dolls, right? And playing with the Barbies or trying to get away from playing with the Barbies. Here's the thing about our children. We either pay now or we pay later, right? You either invest now or you invest later. Because those formative years, those which is the years when they want to play with the Barbies and they really want to, do the things that we find very uninteresting, right? Like what are we doing? What are we doing here? So those things, those times when we are with them doing what they would like and spending that time, that is what we call quality. That is what we call an unspoken investment. That is what we call something that will give you ROI that you've never seen before in your life. Because those are the times where you're building relationship. Those are the times where you're building trust. Those are the times when you're showing love. So when she gets older and she's moving out into the world and the world is not nice to her, she knows that she has a mother that loves her. She knows that she has a mother that didn't want to play with the dolls and spent time with her and played with the dolls. So those are the foundational pieces that we have to instill and do right now as you're doing. Because as she gets older and she moves out and begins to meet more people and has a bigger stretch in life, she's going to need to know that she has home to come to. So again, we invest now when they're younger, or we end up with young people that grow up and that feel abandoned or felt like they weren't loved and things of that nature. So I just wanted to tap into that. And I love that. Do it now, Jennifer. Do it now. And enjoy her now, because she needs all of that doll baby playing that you're giving. She needs all of that to see that her mother is there regardless of the activity. She needs all of that now so that she can go out, and that time out will be more fulfilled, and she's not looking for acceptance, and she's not looking for the love that mama should have gave her from somebody else. So that's that. Now you have to ask me that question again, because I don't remember what it was.
Okay. So let me jump in real quick, because then you triggered another thought. My parents have both passed away. My mom passed away 5 years ago. My dad passed away earlier this year. And with my parents, one thing that I was clear, they weren't perfect parents, and I haven't been a perfect daughter, But one thing that I was always clear about is that my mother loved me deeply. My father loved me deeply. So when you talk about going out into the world, one thing that, regardless of what's happened, no, I was loved. I was loved by my mother. I was loved by my father unconditionally. My parents, they did not know what they had no clue of like what I did. And my mom said, I don't really know what you do, but I love you, and I'm proud of you. And my dad would say the same thing. And just that knowledge and that assurance, like you said, it just means so much. And I hadn't thought about it until you put it like that.
Yeah. So I can't stress it enough. I have a 26-year-old, and I was a single mother with her, and I am reflecting on some of the times where I didn't play with the Barbies with her. Right. I'm thinking about some of the things that she has gone through as an adult, and that me being so focused on career and trying to make ends meet and all of the things, as they say now, as the young people say, all of the things, right? And so I was doing all of the things other than my daughter. Now, I loved her. I loved her unconditionally, but I don't know if she knew that, because she didn't equate food and shelter with love. She equated food and shelter with food and shelter. You understand? So I look back, and so I and so again, and I love her to pieces. And so we spend time together now, but I'm just thinking, what other aspects of her womanhood would I see right now had I invested more? Now we hung out. Don't get me. I didn't neglect her. You understand? But I'm just thinking about some of the things that I could have invested in with her when she was younger, and I wonder what she would be right now. Now she's great now, but how much more would she be had she captured fully the kind of love that her mother has for her at an earlier age. Now, again, because I'm a woman of faith, God makes no mistakes, things happen. So even though the devil meant that for evil, right? Because I was so focused on things that were not necessarily home and what they should have been, watch how God turns it around. It's one of those types of things. So he uses all of that because we're going to be human. We're going to do something. We're not going to spend as much time as we want, and things going to happen to our children. And the first person, before even them, we're going to look at ourselves and blame ourselves, right? And so what I'm saying now, and I can say that strongly and stern and stand 10 toes down on invest now for you as with your younger baby, because you're either going to invest then or you're going to invest later. And I don't mind investing now. I just want her to be the best person. And I feel like if I had invested more earlier, she would be further along than she is. And that's just me being extremely transparent about how I feel about my daughter and investing in family.
Thank you so much for your transparency and your vulnerability. And again, that resonates and it relates to me so much. My son is 27, and there's so many things that I wish I would have done differently, right? And God has been so great because I've learned, since my youngest child, I've learned a little bit more. Still not a perfect parent, but sometimes my son will call me and he will call me a lot and he'll want to talk to me. And I had this thought a couple of weeks ago. I said, okay, is this the 27-year-old who's calling me, or is this the 9-year-old boy who felt like he didn't get enough time? And I just, because I was thinking, well, he just called me yesterday, and I said, no, this is the 9-year-old boy who wanted access to his mom, and his mom wasn't always available. That's who I'm hearing. And so I just appreciate you being willing to say that, because I know that it's not just me who resonates with that. There's a lot of our listeners and audiences who resonate that. So let me ask you this, since we're here, if there's a parent or a grandparent who's listening and they're like, you know what, I didn't invest that time, or I didn't, maybe God gave me this seed and I didn't chase it, and I have a little bit of guilt. What might you say to someone who was there?
Well, it's never too late. If you still have it, if you still have the fire, if your babies are still here, it's never too late. Just like you mentioned, Jennifer, you said he called a couple of days in a row and you were like, hey, what you doing? We just talked about this yesterday, or what you want, right? Now, you had the question, wait a minute, you really don't want the answer to that question. You just want to talk to mama. So he will give you, and this is God will give you the insight. You just ask for it. He will give you the insight and the wisdom to refresh that relationship, to plant that seed, to watch it grow. And he also said that he will repay you for the years that the locusts and the cankerworm, right? You understand what I'm saying? So I told you, I feel like I should have been a better mama. I'm making money. I'm doing all of these things. She's going on every field trip, got every new pair of sneakers, but I wasn't hanging with my baby like I needed to. But I'm hanging with her now, and he said he will repay you. You understand? So I'm just thankful for the opportunity to do it. She's with me. She's still here with me. I'm still here with her. I'm not gone. She's here. We're in the land of the living. I can go. As a matter of fact, when I leave this, I'm going to go over to her apartment now. You understand? Like, it's just so I am very thankful for the opportunity. So we learn at our own pace. We learn at our own rate. And if it's still a fire in you and he's giving it to you, it's never too late. So that business you were supposed to start 20 years ago, okay, it's 2026. Let's go. Because he will repay. And our time is not his time. So what may have taken you 2 years, you get on track with God, it'll take you 2 weeks. I mean, we're not limited. We're not a limited people. So if we move in those spaces, knowing who he is and knowing who we are, he's going to do what his word says that he does. We just have to live in that space. But again, like you, I'm not the best mama in the world. I'm not the best person. I just know who my daddy is. I'm righteous through him. I am not. Heather is just Heather. You understand? What did they say? There's no good thing in me outside of him. So I respect who I am and I lean on who he is. So when I think about the days and I think I may have hindered my baby from doing this or something of that nature, I just remember that God grace is sufficient and I get new mercies every day. So I go and just try to be a better mama today. I can't figure out what I was supposed to do in 2020. 2020 is gone. I can't go back and change what I did in 2022. All I can do is move forward knowing that I have new mercies every day and knowing that I'm supposed to live and walk in love and show grace. And that's what it is. Yeah.
So you almost took me out on that last one. I held on to that ugly cry, but you almost you almost took me out with that one. Because, when you talk about, when the Bible says that he will repay you for the years that the locusts, I think I want to find that scripture so that I can just read it to our audience. That has been proven true so many times in my life, where I look at a situation and I said, okay, God, how will I ever make ground? Or how will I ever get where I want to get? And then you look up and you're there, or you look up and people don't even know what you've been through or what it took you to get from point A to point B. They just see point B and they think that you've always been there. So I just appreciate that. And I want to just look at that scripture for our listeners. So that is in Joel
It's in Joel.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joel 2:25. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, the cankerworm and the caterpillar, the palm worm, my great army which I sent among you. And I am I'm a testament to that. We all are, if we just look and see the area. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. Now, I know I can sit and talk to you for hours, right? But I know that I promised 40 minutes. But let me just ask you this. In the same way that your words are just resonating as truth to me, I know they're resonating with our audience as truth. And if our audience wants to find you and support your work, how can they do that?
Sure. I'm a very hands-on person. So I'm on all the social medias, Dr. Heather Lamb, Baddick, and I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. But email me, everybody. Email me. It's info@drheatherlamb.com. That's the quickest and easiest way. Just email me. I would love to come out and speak. I'd love to come out and encourage. And I just love letting God be God. Because again, Jennifer, we didn't plan on talking about this. I don't think this was in any of the questions that you provided. But I want to be led, and I want to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do to make sure that he is lifted up. And so yeah, that's it. So just email me at info@drheatherlamb.com and I will get back with you. And yeah, that's it.
Our audience tends to want to know how they can help and what they can do. Is there a specific need that you have for any of the organizations or programs that you're leading that you want to surface now?
Well, when it comes to our nonprofit, Social and Economic Empowerment Through Knowledge, we are the venture we're doing right now supporting people who want to become entrepreneurs. I told you earlier about my saying about there's no ship like entrepreneurship. So I'm all about people who are what we call quote unquote the underdog or from marginalized populations who want to have the playing field level so that they can live out their purpose and live out their dreams. So if you want to support, go to seekempowerment.org. We're there. Check us out. Again, I have my book, How Not to Be a People Pleaser. It's a life-changing book, I'm telling you. And I don't just say that because I wrote it. But what I am saying is it allows you to walk in love, but also still not in regret. It gives you the confidence and the ability to figure out why you are doing things that you don't necessarily want to do, that you're not necessarily called to do because you want to please people. Because it's not about pleasing people, it's about pleasing God. And he will allow you to please the people that you're supposed to please. So it's about aligning things and getting things together. So again, that's on Amazon, How Not to Be a People Pleaser, 5 Action Steps to Using Your Voice Without Regret. But other than that, Jennifer, tell everybody, just email me. I'm telling you, I'm very open to supporting and being supported. So if I can help anyone out there who needs something, and you think Dr. Heather Lamb aligns with your vision or your purpose, and you just want to talk, just feel free to email me and we'll connect.
Well, thank you so much. To our listening audience, at least the women who are a part of the women and men who are a part of United Women in Faith, I know that there are conference events throughout the year, right? And Dr. Heather Lamb would be a phenomenal speaker. So I encourage you to reach out to her. And United Women in Faith also has a reading list, right? I would love for you all to here's my request. I would love for someone to nominate Dr. Heather Lamb's book, How Not to Be a People Pleaser, for United Women in Faith's reading list program. And when you've done that, I want you to send me an email. You can send it into the United Women in Faith office. They'll forward it to me, but I want you to send me an email and let me know that you've done that. And here's the thing. Don't beat me to it. I'm probably going to do it. So you will probably hear this message in July, and I want you to do it. I want you to do it. And I'm going to check with Emily Jones, and I'm going to find out if she received any nominations, right? So this is my challenge to you. I want someone to nominate Dr. Heather Lamb's book for United Women in Faith's reading list. And let's continue to keep her in our prayers, and not just Dr. Lamb, but for everything that her hands touch. So Dr. Lamb, this conversation has been such a blessing to me. And I'm just so thankful that you're walking in your calling, because you're doing so frees other people to walk in theirs. So thank you again for being with us.
Well, to God be the glory, Jennifer. That's first and foremost. And I appreciate you so much and this platform that you have. And women of faith, we can change things. So as I look at the climate and we hear about what's happening, and again, this is June, and you say they won't get this until July. I just say let's get together, intercessors, and let's make this thing do what we want it to do, because we don't fight flesh and blood. We fight in a spiritual place. We are fighting principalities and wickedness in high places. So let's do what we need to do and show and cast our authority out and get things done how we want to get it done. Let's protect our children. Let's protect our families. And, to God be the glory.